We're going to be talking about quite an important integral part of student accommodation, which is part 2 of the part 3 video. We did part 1 and now we are jumping on to part 2. And this part 2 here is specifically talking about accreditation, no accreditation, and blacklisted. Right. So yes, the universities can blacklist you. We are talking about student accommodation, and today I'm dedicating this video, the entire video, for the next around about 15 to 20 minutes, so that we can dive into how best can you get accredited. Remember, we are doing a recap of the previous video. In the previous videos, we had gone out to showcase a particular deal. So my apology, today there is no deal. I am not going to show you a deal, but I decided that it is very important that we dive into this segment as a standalone for accreditation. What does it mean to be accredited? What does it mean to not be accredited? And what does it mean to be blacklisted? Because you're thinking that things are going so well, you can't be blacklisted. Well, you can. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today's video. Now, some of you might want to tune off already because you're thinking, I can do this. The accreditation not so bad. My friends, you want to hang on, because what I'm going to be teaching today in the couple of steps that I'm going to giving you is not just about accreditation alone, but to remain accredited. And on top of that, how best do you not get blacklisted? And then on top of that, we are running a business. We always say here on this business, on this channel, we've got a business that we need to be running, and we are affirming that every modern parent should earn passive income through property investment. And if accreditation is the pinnacle of you getting your money, surely we should be looking into it a little bit more seriously. So get plugged in. Don't forget to share with others as well that you might think will be beneficial to this information. Now, I'm going to discuss here, I'm going to split it into 3. I'm going to split it into accreditation, no accreditation, and then blacklisting. And then when you get blacklisted, what then? Okay. And remember, in the previous video, we already shared requirements and costs for you to getting paid. So at this junction, you already have your property, you have identified it, you are happy with your property. You then went through the whole list of requirements that we spoke about in the previous video. I'm not going to repeat them because they're already there. You can watch that video to the end. Then now we know that in the kitchen, this is what we need to do. In the bathroom, this is what we need to do. In their rooms, this is what we need to do. So bingo, you got all of that. But now, how do you actually now approach the university for the accreditation? That's what we are going to be zoning in. Number one, I want to also mention that I haven't seen a lot of universities that appoint agencies. Yes. So don't be fooled that there are people out there that they will say to you that you need to pay us 5,000, you need to pay us 100,000 for us to accredit you. There's a difference, my friends. For instance, I want to put in a disclaimer. My friends at my student house, so this is a business that does property management and student management. They are called My Student House. At My Student House, they facilitate the process for you to being accredited. Don't be fooled when people come through to you and say they will get you accredited. There's a difference there, right? Let's assume that I was going to get a passport, because I want to distinguish the facilitation and I'll get you a passport, okay? So let's assume I don't have a passport and I want to get a passport. Someone can approach me and say, hey, TJ, I can hook you up with a passport. Pay me 100 grand. And for that reason, I will be able to give that person 100,000, and then they'll come back with me with a passport. Ooh, Is it legit? Ooh, does. Now, this person said to me, they can get me. It's the same thing that I'm speaking about here to say, I've seen so many people, I've seen so many landlords being scammed, being taken for a ride to say that they are being accredited and those people never come back. Now, my friends at my student house, how do they help? They facilitate the process, which basically means that if you go back to that video, right at the end, I speak about the type of documentation that is required. For instance, they're going to ask for your details, the landlord, the property, who is the ownership, and. There's lots of documentation that I mentioned. All this documentation, for an example, my student house will ask for it. There's an agreement that you need to sign, obviously, to appoint them to do this work. And they are going to do the work for you at the university alongside you. That's what's called facilitation. So they don't get your money and then they go away and then bingo, you don't find them. Run away from such kind of people. Check, do they have a fidelity license? Check, are they reputable? Check all of these things that you can check. And if in doubt, always come to us at the TJ Tribe and ask us the question. We will do the rough check for you. And if we cannot find them, we can't find them. And we will refer you to other bodies as well where you can also find them. So I have just now indicated to you that do not be taken for a fool with other people out there that will come knocking on your doors and say, we can get you accredited. Each university actually has an open door policy where they say to you, when you have your property and you've got all of these things ready, come to our university, or at the university itself, they may direct you to my student house. I'm not saying they may refer you to my student house. I'm not saying they may refer you to my student house, which basically means that they may have their own middle person or middle organization. Like, for instance, in Johannesburg, when funds are being collected, we do not engage directly with the universities. There's a middle person or middle company that's called Fundi. And then we get the monies from there. So they're doing the work for us. So some universities, they may have a third party. And this third party may actually be able to get you the accreditation to facilitate that whole process and things like that. There have been talk with NSFAS that they want to take over this particular one. At the shooting of this video, I am not so sure whether they have rolled that out nationally or how far are they. But at this junction, the university is your best place. Go there, ask the question. If you're getting stuck, come back onto this channel. So we are diving in already. We started talking about accreditation. And I almost want to say here, once you got your documentation, you're going to pay the university. And once you pay the universities, they're going to come back to you. They're going to come back to you with an accreditation, or they're not going to pay you an accreditation. Recently, I went to my bank for a property that I was busy financing. And they asked me the question, do you have an accreditation certificate? Do you have a contract with the university? And I said, no, I don't have a contract with the university. And they said, but you're doing student accommodation. And I said, yes, my university doesn't give contracts. They just appoint you and they give you a number. The bank on the other side was like, no, you should have a contract. And I said, my dear, I've been in the game for a long time. This university doesn't give me a contract. No, Mr. Jack, you are supposed to be having a contract for nothing less of 3 to 5 years. I said, whoa, I've never seen that. Where have you seen that? Oh, no, that's what the requirements say. Well, I am on the ground. And on the ground, there are no contracts like that. So I want you to be very clear to your funders as well. Explain to them the process that you have gone through. Show them the paperwork. Eventually, I took my banker to my university, and they said they would like to come and see. I gave them my appointment letter. And they asked the university, don't you give contracts? And no. So basically what I'm trying to say to you here is, dependent on the university, some universities give these 3 to 5 years, but my friends, I have personally not seen it, right? Yours truly, I've not seen it. Have I seen an appointment letter which stipulates that I've been accredited? Yes. Have I also been written an email from the university? That email like, hi, TJ, you've been accredited, we'll put you on a list. I have seen such kind. So not everything is standard across some of these universities. So when you're getting the information and when you're getting accredited and they don't give you this document, the contract, that maybe you might expect, because at the BRI you were talking about it, don't assume that you are not fully accredited. Just ask the question to that particular university to say, look, at what junction am I fully accredited? And they will tell you, when you receive this letter, it will look like this. Or when you receive papa, it will look, when you sign papa. So it's different from every university. I'm giving you guidelines here. So that's enough around accreditation. If there is any questions, my friends, that you want to ask around accreditation, drop me in the comments and I'll address to that. Or we'll potentially do another video around that. So can you get a no from the university? The answer is yes, my friends. You can get a definite no, right? You can get a definite no. What does it mean actually when the university gives you a no? Does it mean that you're out of business? It doesn't necessarily mean that. Let's go back. If the university is accredited, they've given you an accreditation. The airtime in English was almost running out there. If the university has given you an accreditation, what does it mean? It basically means that you have met the minimum requirements of what they are looking for. This requirement is, as an example, for you to be a driver on our roads, you need to have a driver's license or you need to have a learner's license accompanied by a driver with a driver's license. That's the requirements for you how to drive, right? So the same thing here. When you approach the universities, they will always have their own requirements. Follow the requirements, but my friends, I also want to say this. Don't just go in and do the bare minimum. TJ, they said we should do quarter beds. So I'm doing quarter beds. Well, what about the students that are a little bit plus size, extra size, voluptuous, Wouldn't you want to cater for those and maybe do a 3/4 bed? I don't know. Maybe charge 200 Rand more. I don't know. What I'm basically saying to you is that what if you had to do over and above the basic requirements to create your own je ne sais quoi so that your customers can always come back? What are some of the things that I've seen landlords who are accredited? I see some that do welcome parties. I see some that do birthdays. Every month there's a birthday that they're celebrating. I've seen so many things, right? I've seen an all-girls race. I've seen an all-boys race. There's so many things that I've seen. So many things that you can do to create your own je ne sais quoi above being accredited. Now, you can get a no accreditation if you take in your submission, and in your submission, you didn't meet the minimum requirements. So in your area, maybe solar is a thing. Actually, they don't really say solar. They say alternative electricity. So we all know Soweto's been hit with Schedule 8. Do we call it that? Load shedding 8 for a long time, right? Before it even became 8. And the question that we need to be asking ourselves is the university may now put in as a minimum requirement that you have alternative power. And if you don't have alternative power, they may not accredit you. If you don't have maybe enough beds in the ratio of the number of students that you have, they may not accredit you. If you don't have maybe security around your property, they may not accredit you. So as and when you are being accredited, once you have put in all your documentation, when they say no accreditation, it is also good to ask the question, can I object? But before I object, what are the things that you have given me a no on? Then they will tell you, you don't have power, you don't have security, you don't have this, you don't have. Oh, okay, so what do you do? At that junction, you can ask the question to the person who is giving you the accreditation. Accrediting you, whoa, that's a deep word there, right? I figured out that word there I can say it. So the person who's giving you the accreditation, you can maybe engage with them so that they can give you the requirements of what you're supposed to be doing. So in other words, whatever that they're going to say to you, you don't have, you can then ask the question, can I still be in time for being accredited? If I go and rectify this, is this for next year or is this for this year still? They may give you what is called a conditional accreditation. You've got 30 days to rectify this. If you've been in business or if you've been in the real estate, we're always talking about real estate here. Whenever you are lending some money from the bank, they give you what is called an approval in principle. And then they write in a whole lot of things that they need you to do before that approval is put in place. It's the same thing. I've seen some universities that will give you a conditional approval. Do this and you are accredited. So my friends, do not think that if you've been accredited, you are 100% sharp. But if you are not being accredited, it's the end and be all. No, there is a way out. Ask the question, engage whoever it is. And out of that, you can go and redo your applications and so on. Now, let's go on to the elephant in the room, which is it true, TJ, that you can be blacklisted? What does blacklisted mean? Well, I'm going to give you here the explanation that I got from the documentation when I was reading it. It basically says that there are 3 types of accreditation. Type number 1 is you will get your accreditation once you are meeting the minimum requirements. And in most cases, for this particular university, it is valid for 1 year. No accreditation, which is what we spoke about. Service provider who, after the preliminary inspection results was released, did not correct. So they give you an opportunity to correct here or effect the recommendation of the committee. Committee are the ones that are going to say yes or no to you. And for that reason, your property becomes not accredited. Then blacklisting, right? The blacklisting, basically what they're saying here is that, if we may read at the bottom here, service provider that has service provider that has supplied the university with fraudulent documentation or engaged in fraudulent or corrupt activities when conducting business with the university. This here got me thinking a little bit. So, if I've created fraud somewhere else, will they accredit me? I think chances are not. If you're being corrupt elsewhere, will they accredit you? I think chances are not. What does this tell me, my friends? It tells me that as a businessman, I need to be on top of my game. I must say that again. As a businessman, I need to be on top of my game. What do I mean by this? The way I behave, the way I conduct my business. It may not have a direct implication here. I said to someone the other day, I like, sometimes I like to drive a little bit faster than normal. So when I know that I am on the edge of going to be driving faster, I take an Uber these days. Because now I know that as a real estate business owner, some of these things can come and haunt me in my other businesses. So I am more careful around how I behave outside there, because it may have a ripple effect and I can get blacklisted. And if I get blacklisted, I don't have a business. So our code of conduct needs to be of the highest level as business people. Our code of conduct needs to be at the highest level, especially when we are dealing with other people's children. So we should not be having such kind of stuff that gets us to be in this space. It does speak about corruption. It does speak about fraudulent activities. So for those reasons, my friend, if they do this to you, they blacklist you, what now? Well, the duration of the blacklisting, they say it may only apply after, so which means that the person here who is being fraudulent and you've been blacklisted, what now? So you may only apply 2 to 5 years later. So which basically means that the university is saying, if you have conducted this type of a crime, is 2 years. That type of a crime is 5 years. Ne? That's what it's basically saying here. So 2 to 5 years, depending on the severity of the conduct. That's what it's saying here. Now, here is the reason why I wanted to make sure that within this particular video, my friends, we are very, very careful on how we are trading here. And for some of you, you might think that this is not important, but this is extremely important. Accreditation, no accreditation, and then the blacklisting. If you were to get blacklisted, my friends, you have no business. Now with the nationalization, no, not really nationalization, but I can say nationalization. Yeah. With the NSFAS going national, it basically means that what they are trying to do is put like a one body that governs all the universities. And if you've been blacklisted, let's say in Limpopo, now you can't go and do business in Cape Town. Or you are now doing your business in Limpopo, and now you've got properties in Johannesburg, and the same will get affected. Here it says with the specific university, but now imagine if NSFAS takes over this. Imagine if NSFAS take over all bursaries, government bursaries, non-government bursaries. That becomes a little bit complicated. So obviously what I'm just basically saying is that our code of conduct needs to be of good quality. I don't know how to say this, but it's one of my passions actually, that everybody is living their life with good ethics. And maybe one day we'll start talking about ethics. Someone said to me the other day, TJ, do you think that there are business ethics? And I'm like, I don't think so. I just think that it's ethics, and then one can use them into business or not. So my friends, this is it that I wanted us to talk about today, particularly around accreditation. I am going to jump in onto my next video, and that next video, which is my part 3 of this one here, we are going to dive into payments and versus accreditation. So you've been accredited, but now what is the payment mechanism? Some people think that we're getting paid because the NSFAS said that they are going to be paying 45,000 per year per child. They just assume everybody is getting 4,500. That is not true. In my next video, do not miss it. But for now, you can watch all the other videos at the TJ Tribe. Until we meet again on the next video, it is I, TJ.